lands commissioner race. I told you, I think this is a sleeper one. I mean, this would be really significant if Republicans can take this seat back. I think it would be better for the state of Washington and for our public lands and everyone who rely on them and who enjoy them. So it is Jamie Herrera Butler, a Republican and former Congresswoman, against Dave Upthegrove, who is a King County progressive. So you know who I'm supporting in this race, Jamie Herrera Butler. And, you know, right now, Republicans they have no statewide seats on the entire West Coast in terms of statewide elected office. So this could be significant if they're able to regain this. But I think it'll be really, really close. In fact, Jamie Herrera Butler has been able to secure some important endorsements for Republicans, you know, from some of the key newspapers, including the Seattle Times. So I think that can go a long way. But there's this, so she's had a couple ads out, or people on her behalf, that I think have been really, really effective. I'm going to play two of them for you today. This one is interesting, but it was paid for by the Washington State Republican Party. Let's just give it a watch. We'll talk about it on the back end.
Dave Upthegrove is too extreme to be Washington's next commissioner of public lands. Just look at his extreme plans for our state lands and the radicals behind him, including his good friend, Brel Frobe.
Huge shout out to Brel Frobe at Center for Responsible Forestry.
Upthegrove's radical buddy, Brel Frobe, and the Center for Responsible Forestry want to defund police.
My name is Brel Frobe. I'm a member of a coalition to defund the police in Whatcom County.
And they want to make our communities more dangerous. Then there's Joshua Wright, another extreme friend of Dave Upthegrove. Wright opposed building a new police station to save Mother Earth and thinks the rich should face the guillotine. Worse, his militant friends want to burn down factories.
Whose lands? Our lands. Whose lands? Our lands.
With radical friends like this, Dave Upthegrove is too extreme to be Washington's Commissioner of Public Lands.
Wow, I agree. And one of the things I've said is, do you really want a radical Seattle progressive managing our public lands across Washington state? I mean, the answer should be no, I hope. But, you know, tying him to these other individuals who he's spoken with at events, who he's called out by name, who support other radical policies like defunding the police, you know, thinking rich people should face the guillotine, that tells you it's the company you keep to a certain extent. And I've said before, like, I don't remember who we were having the conversation about. I don't think you have to absorb the politics and political beliefs of every single person in your orbit. I don't think that's fair. But these are people tied to environmental groups that are supportive of his campaign. So in this sense, it's a lot different. So anyway, that ad comes out. It's just on social media right now. And a rich environmental attorney immediately sent the Washington State Republican Party a cease and desist. That tells you about how good it is, right? So Peter Goldman, we'll get more into this in a moment. He's an environmental attorney in Seattle. He sent this to the Washington State Republican Party. I'm representing the Center for Responsible Forestry and Brel Frobe, who was mentioned in that ad. Dave Upthegrove called him out by name. Brel Frobe is with the Center for Responsible Forestry, but he's also the one who was on video saying, I support defunding the police. So it says, I'm representing the Center for Responsible Forestry and Brel Frobe. The Center for Responsible Forestry and Mr. Frobe are extremely concerned about the video that the Republican Party prepared and is displaying via various media in connection with the 2024 Lands Commissioner race. The party's video was clearly made from video belonging to CRF without CRF's permission. The video has been uploaded to CRF's YouTube channel. Based on my initial legal research, not only is this a violation of YouTube's internal policies, but under federal copyright law, the party does not have the legal right to take this video and doctor it into being a political message for the party. The party, of course, has a right to air its political views, but it cannot steal copyrighted work product to do so. We respectfully request that the party cease and desist from using this video in any political advertising. If the party disregards this warning, CRF and Mr. Frobe will prosecute a civil copyright infringement action against the party in the future. Kindly assure me that you will honor this request. Thank you very much, Peter Goldman, attorney at law. So this is just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I'm not a political attorney. I'm not an environmental attorney, but I know that this is, first of all, just a ridiculous argument towards cease and desist, that you can't take someone, something that they said, and use it in a political ad. It happens all the time. You watch literally any political ad on TV, and you have all sorts of quote unquote copywritten material that you could argue is used in there. For instance, news clips. Do you ever see news clips used in political ads? All the time. Where it'll be a clip here, clip from King, clip from Q13, little snippet of the Seattle Times. When you're talking about a political ad, someone running for political office, there is a lot of leeway when it comes to using material that's out there on the internet in that political ad. And look, Mr. Goldman knows that. This is a desperate attempt because that ad is so damn good. But also, Peter Goldman isn't just a regular environmental attorney. There's a reason why he's the one that this Brett Frobe and the Center for Responsible Forestry looped in, because Peter Goldman is a well-known, very rich, quote-unquote, environmentalist who basically does stuff like this because he's independently wealthy and he believes in environmental issues and he wants the most far left, whoever it is, running for public lands commissioner. He's always going to support the person who's farthest to the left. And in this case, that's not Jamie Herrera Butler. I was just doing a quick search on him. So he is the director and managing attorney for Washington Forest Law. There were a few old articles about him in other, his involvement in other public lands commissioner races. This from the Seattle Times in 2004. He wrote a $250,000 check in the public lands commissioner race to try to unseat the land commissioner at the time, Doug Sutherland. Let's see, the Seattle PI, back when they actually used to hold far lefties accountable. Rich Enviros fund big independent expenditure in lands commissioner race. That's from 2016, talking, of course, about Peter Goldman. So what's interesting is that Peter Goldman had actually supported Hillary Franz to be lands commissioner. And now I find it so interesting that he is like diametrically opposed to Jamie Herrera Butler being lands commissioner, because even the Seattle Times, Nicole, if we can skip ahead to the Seattle Times endorsement, even the Seattle Times, when it endorsed Jamie Herrera Butler, said she's actually more aligned with Hillary Franz than Dave Upthegrove is. So you have a Democrat and a Republican, and they're saying that actually the Republican in this race, Jamie Herrera Butler, when it comes to key issues, she's more in line with Hillary Franz. For instance, they said Democrat Dave Upthegrove's campaign would bar logging on tens of thousands of acres of trust lands. Republican Jamie Herrera Butler would prioritize increasing restoration work in public forests to reduce wildfire risk in an era of climate change. As such, former U.S. Rep. Herrera Butler's candidacy aligns more closely with the approach of Democrat Hillary Franz, the current commissioner. So I just thought it was interesting that here you have this environmental attorney who'd been supportive of Hillary Franz, and he is jumping on this like really ridiculous cease and desist letter because he doesn't support the campaign of Jamie Herrera Butler, which just tells me that he's someone who wants the most lefty candidate to get the job. So if it's Hillary Franz was the most lefty candidate at the time, now it's Dave Upthegrove who's the most lefty candidate, aligning himself with police abolitionists and people who want to defund the police and all these far left environmental organizations. So the Washington State Republican Party responded to this frivolous cease and desist letter, and they provided us with the email they sent back. It says, it's from Joel Ard, who's their attorney. Peter, I'm generally confused, and I know you've had a lot more time to look over the issue than I have. Help me understand what's going on. 1, could you send me a copy of or a link to the original video as to which your client claims a copyright? Could you send me the copyright registration of that video? Could you send me a copy of or a link to the allegedly derivative work as to which you make a copyright claim against my client? Could you explain how the paid for statement, which I believe was included as required by law, has any relevance to the copyright infringement claims? Your email raises many more questions, but answers to these 4 questions above seem to be the initial basis for having any kind of conversation about whatever demands your client might have. So the WA GOP is basically like kick rocks. But this comes on the heels of what I think have been a couple really successful and damaging ads from Jamie Herrera, like in favor of support of Jamie Herrera Butler against Dave Upthegrove. Here is an ad that came out just before that one, which actually has been airing on TV.
We have an important choice to make for Lands Commissioner. King County Councilman Dave Upthegrove presided over 30 million gallons of raw sewage dumped into the Sound. Year after year, beaches closed, shellfish poisoned, a tribal lawsuit threatened, costing taxpayers millions. There's a better choice. Jamie Herrera Butler is a bipartisan leader who protected endangered salmon and is fighting for sustainable timber harvests to prevent wildfires. Vote Jamie Herrera Butler. She'll protect our environment and our tax dollars.
I love that one. It's like toxic waste. What is it? Wait, play the beginning of it again.
We have an important choice to make for Lands Commissioner. King County Councilman Dave Upthegrove presided over 30 million gallons of raw sewage dumped into the Sound.
Okay.
Year after
Yeah,
year,
I mean, you're running for
beaches
public
closed.
lands commissioner, being tied to raw sewage being dumped into the Sound. That's probably not a good thing. So those two ads are really effective. That's why this rich environmental attorney is losing his mind. And I guarantee, this is just a guess, but my gut tells me that this Brent Froby, what was his name? Hold on. Brel Froby, who was featured in that first video, a clip of him saying, I support defunding the police. I guarantee that it wasn't his idea to send the GOP a cease and desist. I guarantee it was Peter Goldman's idea to send the GOP a cease and desist, and he reached out to them. I guarantee it. This is my opinion. But proactively, I'm couching that because he's an attorney and, I don't want him to sue me. But I guarantee he reached out to them and said, hey, I'm going to send a cease and desist on your behalf because he's so entangled in all of these issues.